The moment has arrived for a truth that cannot be suppressed any longer. An elderly person stands in front of you, their cowardice weighing heavily on them. They observed all that was done to you, including the suffering you endured, but they remained silent instead of taking action. When you most needed a defender, they opted to turn a blind eye and choose comfort over bravery. This cosmic debt now demands payment as their last days draw near. Their silence was a betrayal of the highest caliber, not merely a failure. They failed their holy duty, and you were selected for greatness, obligation to safeguard your light. The truth that pierces the curtain between worlds is the revelation they are unable to keep to themselves. It's never too late for the truth to be fully accepted, but the apology arrives too late for justice. As time goes on, their physical form deteriorates. The body eventually betrays them. Every breath gets shallower than the last, and every heartbeat gets riskier. With the unwavering, ruthless certainty of a cosmic tide that cannot be turned back, the end is drawing near, but something weighs on them more than death does, a load that pales in comparison to physical suffering, a weight that is incalculable on worldly scales due to its existence in the realm of soul debt. And you remain unaltered, unfazed, and amazing in your survival in the middle of this crushing gravity. Recognize that their remorse burns like an old star exploding in on itself. They ought to have served as your sword against those who wished to dull your light and as your shield when the darkness came for you. Rather, they turned into a ghost, present but silent, witnessing but not talking. They witnessed everything. Each tear that escaped your eyes left a corresponding scar on their conscience. Each time you recoiled, they sensed the reverberation of your terror. They laid awake every night you were alone in your suffering, knowing that they had let you down, not because they didn't know, but because they were afraid. They were gripped tightly by dread, fear of being rejected, fear of being alone, fear of becoming uncomfortable, fear of upending the status quo, and fear of the repercussions that would arise when one person stands in opposition to many. Your pitiful, insignificant anxieties pale in comparison to what you went through without protection. They are now consumed more fiercely by regret than by dread. Regret is a partner that never leaves their side. It does not bargain. It does not sleep. It does not provide the false solace of what if. Regret just exists, moment after moment, breath after breath. Without a doubt, their yearning to get there is as intense as 1,000 suns. Silence is not their inclination. Distance is not their option. However, there is an unbreakable barrier between their remorse and your consciousness because of factors outside of your line of sight. Their current surroundings, their caregivers, relatives, and alleged well-wishers have turned into truth jammers with kind hands and evil intent. They guarantee that some bridges will always be burnt. They mumble about what's best while just benefiting themselves. They talk about protection while imposing seclusion. Jealousy fortifies the foundation of these fortifications, while deceit serves as their mortar. Every block is reinforced by bitterness. The construction of this castle took years of deliberate involvement and was not completed overnight. Some are afraid of what your forgiveness can cure, while others are afraid of what your presence would expose. Additionally, your reconnection poses a threat to well-laid plans for individuals who are focused on acquiring material wealth and who are counting down the days until it is transferred. Allowing an elderly person to leave in agony is preferable to risking losing what they feel they are entitled to. Keeping cozy lies is preferable to confront unpleasant realities. Realize now that those who stand in your way of this elder figure never had room for you. Long before their defenses were developed, they started to oppose. They instinctively and primally rejected you because they knew you carried something they couldn't own or control. The narratives they have created to defend their behavior and the stories they tell themselves about you are only pretenses for the obvious truth. You were unique. You passed through the universe with a regularity that jarred their cozy slumber. The waters they wanted to remain motionless began to tremble at your presence. You saw through the veils they relied on. You asked questions they couldn't answer, and you carried a light they couldn't extinguish. Even as a child, they were uneasy with the wisdom in your eyes. Being exactly who you were supposed to be was your real crime. Instead of allowing a moment of healing connection, they would like to see this elderly person suffer in the pain of unresolved business. They would rather maintain their delusion of moral defense than observe the effectiveness of true reconciliation. Their sympathy is outweighed by their craving for control. As their physical vigor wanes, the curtain has lifted, and their spiritual sight becomes clearer. Their vision is no longer distorted by the distractions of everyday life. Essence, pure, unadulterated truth that is unavoidable, remains. Because the present provides little solace, their thoughts are drawn more and more to the past. Your face is perfectly clear in front of them when it's calm. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be with you. Remember this truth. Our lives are anchored in His divine plan, beyond worldly concerns. As Scripture says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." Luke 6:38. Like a mighty oak, we stand firm in His strength. Now you have the opportunity to step into that blessing. When you use the super thank you button and give $100, know that His abundance will return to you 100-fold. Your voice reverberates with messages they ought to have paid attention to in the pauses between ideas. In dreams, you stand in front of them and ask them a straightforward question: why? They now realize with terrible certainty that they left behind a person who was intended to be protected by the stars, not just any soul that happened to cross their path, but one whose safety was their sacred mission, whose welfare was entrusted to them by powers beyond mortal comprehension. Those who formerly appeared to be permanent have been taken by death, which has visited their inner circle. Likewise, every death brought them closer to the basic reality that time is fleeting and that what is left undone weighs more than what has been done. Every loss removed another layer of deception. Think about the idea that their quiet was more complicated than just a sign of weakness. The strings that moved them may have been tugged by hands stronger than any one person's, and the web that contained them may have been spun with miraculous accuracy. Reality is more successfully distorted by emotional manipulation than when used properly. Any psychedelic can make right appear impossible and wrong seem right. Consequences for each attempt at independence were intended to strengthen conformity. Every glimmer of bravery was smothered before it could ignite. Dark powers detect people who could thwart their schemes. They find people who could defend the selected, and they systematically try to destroy these possible allies before they can achieve their cosmic goal. Not through overt means, annihilation, but by subtly tainting the will. However, those dominating forces are no longer in control. Whether it be because of distance, death, or weakened strength, their hold has loosened. The Elders' newfound clarity allows them to understand the manipulation for what it was. They can now identify the cage in which they were imprisoned, and this realization is met with intense regret. over what was given up for a false sense of serenity rather than comfort. Around you, sense the currents changing. Know that they have resorted to roots beyond flesh and bone if physical connection is still not possible. They, in the hopes that a sliver of their message will find its way to you, project their spirit over the gap between your worlds. Keep an eye on your dreams and take note of the unexpectedly vivid appearance of their face. Recognize when memories come flooding back without any apparent reason. Acknowledge the unexpected emotional outbursts that appear to originate from somewhere outside of you. These are intentional attempts at spiritual contact rather than haphazard brain firings. They want to stand up to the constraints of their failing body in order to connect with you. You are here for a reason. If you feel the call, answer it. Click Join to unlock exclusive content, deep insights, and a powerful community. This isn't just a membership, it's an awakening. Step into your divine purpose. Join the chosen. They desire to say the words that could start to mend old wounds before you one last time. They long to tell you that love existed behind the betrayal, regardless of looks, deeds, and their awful failure. They are aware, however, that time is a one-way process. What has been broken cannot be repaired, and what has been endured cannot be unendurably protected. The realization that some harm cannot be reversed adds yet another level of pain to their suffering. Listen to this caution. Should these words arouse your desire to heal the division, continue with great care. The area that separates you and them is not neutral. Rather, it is territory that is actively protected by individuals who have a stake in keeping you apart. Through years of deliberate interference, those who act as gatekeepers between you and this elder figure have shown their brutality. They have demonstrated their readiness to put their own pleasure ahead of the welfare of others. They have exposed the lengths they will go to in order to preserve their story. Don't give up the haven you've created out of the ruins of an abandoned behemoth. Avoid being around those who have already shown that they are capable of harm. Don't jeopardize the stability you've worked so hard to build for someone who once opted for ease over bravery. Your safety cannot be jeopardized, and neither can your well-being. You must not give up your hard-earned tranquility on the altar of another person's dying. Redemption. The elders themselves would concur, you need to be protected now. Recognize the contradiction. They do not believe that your continued advancement depends on their apology. They understand that you have risen not because of their participation, but in spite of their failure. Their apology offer is to finish a circuit of cosmic accountability that cannot stay open, not to finish you. They are filled with pride when they see who you have grown into. Not the petty pride of claiming credit for your achievements, but the deep pride of realizing how beautifully you have thrived in spite of the difficult circumstances of your early development. Your fortitude is like a flower blooming through concrete. What was done to you cannot be forgiven. The agony that was endured cannot be undone, and the protection that was denied cannot be given back, cannot be inexperienced. They need the universe to document that they have finally spoken this truth, but they do not seek forgiveness for these realities. Not in the slightest, not in any reality that has ever existed or ever might exist. Was it ever your fault? Others who intentionally hurt you, and others who watched and permitted that abuse to persist, bear all the responsibility. You are still completely innocent and untouchable. You are entitled to more advocacy, better protection, and greater acknowledgement of your innate worth, of greater appreciation for your special talents, and better development of your limitless potential. You deserved voices to stand up for you. You deserved champions who would do whatever it took to protect you. They were never as strong as you are. The bravery you have shown in enduring, recovering, and going on in spite of injuries that would have devastated weaker souls is greater than any courage they could have ever mustered. Your spiritual strength highlights their flaws. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Child of God, listen to me. Your life is not a mistake. You are not wandering through this world by chance. You are not just another face in the crowd. You are chosen, set apart, and destined for something greater than your past, greater than your pain, greater than anything this world has tried to tell you about yourself. Think about an eagle, majestic, powerful, unshaken by the storms that rage below. When the wind rises, lesser birds seek shelter, but the eagle spreads its wings, locks its eyes on the heavens, and soars higher. The storm doesn't break the eagle, it lifts it. And child, you are that eagle. Everything that was meant to destroy you, everything that was meant to keep you small, everything that was meant to chain you to an ordinary life, it cannot hold you because you were built to rise. Your future is yours alone. Uncomfortable relief. Your future is blissfully unwritten, but the past is unchangeable, etched into the very foundation of existence. Like an endless canvas, it stretches out in front of you, waiting for the colors that only you can apply. This future, this glorious destiny, belongs to you alone. Not to those who hurt you, not to those who failed to protect you, and not even to those who might truly love you now. It swells with possibilities that no earthly boundary can limit. You have the sovereign right to choose, follow, and change your own course. You see, the enemy wants you to believe that because your past is set in stone, your future must be too. He whispers lies, telling you that what happened back there determines what can happen up ahead. But I came to tell you today, that devil is a liar. Your past may be carved into history, but your destiny is written in heaven, and heaven is not bound by what has been. When God formed you, He didn't do it haphazardly. He didn't throw you into this world and hope you'd find your way. No, He handcrafted you piece by piece with divine purpose. Your scars, your struggles, your setbacks, they have not disqualified you. They have prepared you. They have strengthened you. And right now, the author of your life is holding the pen, ready to write something new. No one else holds your future. Listen to me now. Not your enemies, not your family, not even your friends hold the power to shape what comes next. Your purpose is not in their hands. It is in God's. It is in yours. They said you'd never make it. They said you were too broken, too lost, too far gone. But look at you now, still standing, still breathing, still pressing forward. The ones who hurt you, the ones who abandoned you, the ones who doubted you, they don't get to claim 1 ounce of what God is about to pour into your life. This future that stretches before you. It is not for them to control. It is not for them to limit. It is not for them to define. God placed a power inside of you that no one else can take away. You, chosen one, are the master of your own path. Step into the life you were meant for. I need you to hear me. It doesn't matter what they said. It doesn't matter what they did. It doesn't matter how many times you fell or how long you've been stuck. The doors of your destiny are swinging wide open, but no one can walk through them except you. You have to decide. Will you keep carrying the weight of yesterday, or will you step boldly into tomorrow? Because let me tell you, child of God, there is a promised land with your name on it, and it's waiting. The chains of your past, they're already broken. The prison of your pain, the doors are already unlocked. The only thing left is for you to rise. Like the eagle, catch the wind of the Spirit and soar. Like the artist standing before a blank canvas, take up your brush and create. Like the child of the Most High that you are, step into your inheritance. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your new beginning. And nothing can stop what God has ordained for you. As you see fit, know this without a doubt. The universe itself never drew its watchful sight, even while your earthly guardians abandoned you. In order to make up for human failure, the stars themselves rearranged their ancient patterns. Invisible guardians gradually reduced harm that shouldn't have come to you. Your soul was picked for this journey not at random, but because it had the unique fortitude needed to endure such hardships. Not because you were destined to suffer, but because your transcendence would finally fulfill a function that is beyond our typical comprehension. Your power now stems from the very experiences that were intended to destroy you. You have been compelled to blaze with an unparalleled brilliance by the attempts to dampen your light. You have a message worth sharing that has been given to you by the efforts to stifle your voice. This is cosmic alchemy of the highest degree, not just survival. Now, synchronicity is all about you as confirmation. Take note of how doors open exactly when needed, or how certain numbers show surprisingly frequently. Be mindful of the assistants who show up at pivotal moments are not random occurrences. Rather, they are proof that you are walking in harmony with powers that are beyond human understanding. Ancient ones stand solemnly acknowledging your voyage over the veil. People that have been on this planet before you are currently watching from higher planes and can clearly see you. They honor the decisions your soul made. They comprehend the reason of your suffering, and they acknowledge the mission you carry. The indigo children, the crystal souls, and the light are mentioned by wisdom keepers, workers who would come to change the collective consciousness. They were talking about you, not about some far-off future generation, but about the person reading these lines right now. Your uniqueness, the very trait that attracted attention to you, was always a gift to be treasured, rather than a fault to be fixed. Your observation, sensitivity, and reluctance to believe in limiting ideas were all necessary qualities for your soul's mission on Earth, not flaws. The elder who didn't shield you had a glimpse of this truth too late. They understood that you were unique, but they didn't have the guts to stand up for it. They now join the innumerable others who reverently follow your development as they get ready to cross across. As they see your magnificence emerge, they have joined the invisible audience. What was done to you symbolizes a series of hardships that have been transmitted through families, social structures, and unintentional involvement in harmful cycles. These trends may have lasted for millennia, rather than just a few years or decades. But bonds are designed to be broken, even after millennia. Cycles are meant to be broken. Patterns won't cease until someone has the guts to say, "This stops with me." And you are that someone. The elder who failed you was a failure themselves. They never received the protection they failed to provide. This is not an excuse, but it does put into perspective the scope of what you are now achieving. By mending yourself and refusing to repeat these patterns, you are healing long-suppressed ancestral traumas. Speaking your truth for centuries gives voice to innumerable people who have been silenced throughout history. By asserting your authority, you set a new standard for future generations. Through your unique experience, this is a collective transformation rather than just personal work. Recognize the divine orchestration at play. What seemed like punishment was actually initiation. What seemed like abandonment was actually preparation. And what seemed like terrible fate was actually a deliberate balancing act intended to ignite hidden spiritual DNA. The exact circumstances required for your awakening were brought about by the elders' neglect to safeguard you. You might have grown differently if they had carried out their guardianship duties. You might have stayed cozy but sleeping. You might have adopted constricting views of the world that would have stopped you from growing. This does not excuse what took place, nor does it somehow make the suffering you went through worthwhile. Humanly speaking, nothing could justify such agony, but it does show that even seeming failure served a goal that is beyond common understanding. This awakening was always part of the divine design for your life. You accepted this journey knowing that the benefits of consciousness will ultimately surpass the hardships of the awakening process, even though your soul understood before incarnating that the route would not be simple. Nobody has the authority to demand your forgiveness, not even the elder who let you down, the people who intentionally hurt you, or the people who gain from your healing efforts. That holy choice is all yours, and it must be in your best interests. Superior to all other factors, genuine forgiveness cannot be forced, managed, hurried, or anticipated. When and if it supports the always changing path of your soul, it naturally arises. Its main purpose is to relieve you of the weight of your grudges, not to exonerate others of their accountability. The senior who tries to apologize is aware of this basic fact. They don't ask for your pardon or hold any expectations about how you would react. They merely present their tardy acknowledgement of reality as a cosmic accounting that had to be finished before to their departure. Whether you forgive or not, accept or reject their apology, or allow for reconciliation, or keep the necessary distance, your power includes the unassailable right to react in any way that respects your journey. All of these decisions are equally legitimate manifestations of your sovereignty. Focus on the vista that lies ahead of you, the constricting narratives that were imposed upon you, the lowered hopes, the inaccurate evaluations, the mistaken decisions have vanished like chains that could never hold your true self. All that's left is limitless possibility that surpasses your present comprehension. The older person who did not shield you now sees this potential and marvels at what you are becoming, not because of their influence, but because of their absence, not because of their assistance, but because of your own unbreakable spirit. What happened didn't harm the cosmic fingerprint that makes you special. Instead, it was momentarily hidden, possibly covered, by layers of adaptive protection. Yet its fundamental pattern persisted, awaiting the right circumstances to fully manifest. You were never genuinely abandoned by enduring love. You were never forgotten by consciousness that matters, and you were never disregarded by forces that matter. Now, with a horrible certainty that brings them no comfort, they realize that the person who was supposed to safeguard you failed their cosmic job. Their recognition cannot alter history. Their awakening cannot reverse what has happened, and their apology cannot erase the wounds caused by their silence. But you continued to be held in a field of love so enormous it is incomprehensible, despite human failing, mortal restriction, and the transient configurations of physical situation. This love did not keep you from suffering, but it did guarantee your survival. It did not protect you from anguish, but it did secure your ultimate success. The light that darkness could not put out was carried by you, the chosen one, who came out of the shadows. You are the one who was promised to change poison into medication. The elder is about to cross the boundary between worlds, and they finally say what they ought to have spoken decades ago. You were correct all along. You are the predicted one whose awakening sparks global growth. Your power was your individuality, your sensitivity was a gift, and your impressions were true. They never claimed your magnificence, you never carried the burden of failure, and your very existence was never the issue. Now this reality reverberates throughout realms, encoded in the Akashic memory that contains everything. It's too late for protection or justice, but it's never too late for the truth to be ultimately and completely recognized. The chosen one has always been you.